Hello and welcome to South Bay Sports Radio. Here's your host, Nick Ingram.
Well, we've made it back to week 10. Back. For some teams, this is it. For others, it's a chance to cement their names as league champions. Call it what you want. This is a huge week. Rivalry week, league championship week, title week. On today's episode, we hear from current PV coach and Maricosta graduate, Guy Gardner, ahead of that week 10 showdown. San Pedro coach and Pirate alum Corey Walsh with the Marine League showdown against Carson. That happens tonight. And second-year coach Rory Schoonmaker leading up to the Eagles meeting with West Torrance for the Ocean League title. First off, Damian, thank you again for joining me. Appreciate you very much. We'll get to your Dodgers in a second. But first, let's hit that time machine. Huey Lewis once sang, "Tell me, doctor, where are we going this time?" Well, October 26, 1984. One of my GOATs, Michael Jordan, made his NBA debut at the Bulls. 16 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 blocks in a 109-93 win over the Washington Bullets. Still an interesting name in sports history.
Exactly.
Another Back to the Future reference, October 27th, 1954. The number one song in the USA was Mr. Sandman by the Chordettes. October 27th, 84, Ruben Mays, playing for Washington State, set an NCAA collegiate rushing record with 357 yards in a single game. Good Lord. October 27th, 2002, Emmitt Smith passed Walter Payton's career rushing mark, 16,726 yards, to become the league's all-time leading rusher. I think we know the Red Sox, October 27th, what they did. First World Series since 1918. Did you know that there was a football team called the Brooklyn Dodgers?
Yeah.
There we go. Well, the Brooklyn Dodgers defeated the Pittsburgh Pirates, also of the NFL, 21-3 in one of only 4 games in NFL history with no penalties. October 28th, 1995, the Atlanta Braves get their only world title of the 14-year division winning team. That was fun to watch. Here's one for you. October 29th, 1960, Cassius Clay made his professional boxing debut, defeating Tunney Hunsaker in a 6-round bout in Louisville. And October 30th, 1974, the Rumble in the Jungle. Muhammad Ali knocks out George Foreman. And then we have good old Jim Brown, November 1, 1959. He ran for 5 touchdowns for the Cleveland Browns. I think that's the only time that any players ever ran for 5 touchdowns in a single game. That'll wrap the history bit of today's episode. All right, Damian, a little bit of history, a little bit of foreshadowing. Game 3, how late did you stay up?
I was up the whole game. It was crazy because at around 4 o'clock, I was thinking, I got some errands to run, like go get food, which I didn't do. So probably by 11 o'clock, I'm like, man, I'm starving. So I ended up eating some cereal. Stayed up the whole night. Crazy game, crazy situation. Crazy all around. Both teams, great pitching, great defense. Not so much great situational hitting on both sides, but just to the Dodgers, it's pretty bad right now. And yeah, that's props to the Blue Jays, man, to come back. You're thinking the series is over. It's still game 3 or whatever. There's still two more games after that, but they've really bounced back strong. And the Dodgers are looking like the Dodgers we saw back in, I think, the summer when they were just couldn't hit it at all. You're getting 6-7 innings, then the starter goes out, then the bullpen blows it up, and then the offense can't do much. So we'll see. At least one more game. See if they can, survive Friday and get it to Saturday. But it's gonna be tough.
You're going to be walking on eggshells tomorrow, I'm sure. And that's going to be interesting because you go back to Toronto. That atmosphere is going to be extremely loud.
Yeah.
And I remember going to a game in 2012 and the PA announcer comes on and she says, "All right, fans, let's get those rally towels up. We're going live." But I think with Toronto, this is their 3rd World Series game in 30 years. They're 1 win away from the championship. Game 3 to me was one of those where it was which team is not necessarily going to make a mistake, but you're throwing out bullpen arms that haven't pitched all season against the lineup that, aside from Vladdy, they can't hit. Like, this is the same team that finished last place in 2024. And so, you leave it up to Freddie Freeman hitting off a guy who probably won't see another bullpen call for the rest of the series. But at the same time, you look at games 1 and game 4 and you see what the Blue Jays are able to do aside from hitting home runs. They're ABC baseball, get them on, get them over, get them in. And they're not relying on the home run. They're not relying on the big bat. In all honesty, I think Savage is hands down possibly going to be the MVP if it's not Vladdy, based on how things have gone this series. I mean, I know he only pitched 4 in game 1, but then yesterday he goes out and throws a gem with 12 strikeouts as a guy who he hit every rung of the Blue Jays organization this season. Like, started in rookie ball and made his way all the way to the majors. And his first postseason start was game 1 of the World Series. You're putting a rookie in that position. Like, talk about full circle. That I'm blown away. I know I have no dog in the fight. I'm not rooting against the Dodgers. I'm not rooting for the Blue Jays. I don't care who wins. I'd love to see both teams win for the greater good of sports. But in my honest opinion, as a baseball fan, what Toronto's doing, it's pretty friggin' sweet.
Yeah, I mean, the only saving grace the Dodgers have is they're sending Yamamoto back to the mound, and he sort of seems to get undeterred by anything. He seems to be calm in all these situations. So I mean, it's going to come down. I mean, can they hit? I mean, it's like watching this season it's been painful a little bit this season. Watching them just can't move runners over. It's like everybody goes cold at the same time. And that's from Shohei all the way down to number 9. I mean, they're getting nothing out of the number 9 spot anyway. So maybe a change of scenery can turn it around. But man, Mookie looks lost. They're doing a good job against Shohei. Shohei might just be tired too. The guy's done pretty much everything. And now he's saying he might be available to pitch out of the bullpen one of these games here. So that guy, his tank has to be on empty.
And that's an interesting situation as well, having Shohei come out of the bullpen. You can't pinch run for him. You can't skip him in the lineup. And do you utilize the inside facilities in Toronto? I know there's a batting cage. Are you going to have him warm up underground and not run him out to the bullpen? That's the question there.
Yeah, no, because you saw the other night they were showing him in the cages at Dodger Stadium. Getting some swings in. To use him in the field, you'll lose the DH spot, right? So maybe that's not a bad idea. You lose the DH spot. You throw him out. You take out. Maybe he hasn't played in the outfield since. I don't even remember when. Since with the Angels, right? That's where he started, I believe. Or
you think he was playing first base and outfield, and they would kind of like rotate him, and so every 5th day instead of him, and he wouldn't play the next day. He'd have the day off. So it was the Shohei rule. There's so many Shohei rules, but all right, I think it's going to be interesting. All right, ad read, and then here we go. World Series winding down. Just a couple games left to decide it all. Whether you're heading out to catch every pitch or ordering in for the showdown, Rizzo's Pizza has you covered. Grab a pie, some wings, and don't forget, mention South Bay Sports Radio or use the code SBSR10 for $10 off your order over $20. When baseball's done, we know the fun doesn't stop. From college football Saturdays, NFL Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, every Laker game in between, Rizzo's is the place to watch, eat, and hang out with your friends. Available through December 31st. All right. Top 15. Damian, here we go. Thursday night's showdown. David Rice is on. Lusinger solidified its spot at the top after that 27-14 victory over Maricosta, securing at least a share of the league title. First time since 92. Some stats from that Maricosta game. Johnny Tonga had 73 yards passing, 195 rushing, and had a hand in all 4 touchdowns. This is the second time in this season I've spoke with him following the game, and both times he's made sure to recognize the offensive line in front of him. I asked him following the game about his collegiate prospects, and he's waiting until the end of the season to make that call. Kelton Strickland ran for 83 yards, 68 coming on the Olympians' opening drive. And Jamal Fay and Sharky Vanisi led Lusinger with 8 tackles. Sharky had 2 sacks. Fay, Ted Tuimaga, and Mason Miller each added sacks. Knowing how Lawndale started the season, how tough Lusinger is there any way Lusinger checks out of this game, or will this game be one of those running clocks in the third quarter?
Yeah, there's no way they're checking out of this one. Just to have the chance to go down as the outright Bailey champion, playing against a school that's down the street from you. Yeah, there's no way they're checking out. It might be a running clock game, but we'll see. I mean, you never know the final end result. I mean, you look at a couple last week, Redondo had a 40-7 lead at halftime against Peninsula, running clock, and Peninsula put up a couple touchdowns late to make the score interesting. So, but I see Lusinger taking care of business and getting ready for the playoffs here.
Coach Jason Miller told me after last week's game, he goes, Nick, I was in the stands the last time we won the league title. My older brother was on the offensive line. So this, to me, is extremely meaningful. I love the fact that we're here. I love the fact that we have that chance. And just getting that sense from somebody that went to Lusinger, that struggled, that's been there. This is his second stint at this school. He's been there for so long that this really means a lot to him. So it's good to see him at the top.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see the program back to where it was. I mean, my cousin went to Lusinger. My brother went there. I was the last one to. Well, my brother was the last one. I was the third one to go there. And I see friends in the South Bay every now and then. Yeah, it's good to see the program rising back up. See a lot of guys on Facebook with their Letterman jacket on, which is pretty cool. So yeah, they're going to be probably Division II going into the playoffs, and let's see if they can make a run there as well.
That's an interesting thing that you said that, because when somebody asked me what happened to PV, I said it's just like those Division II games that they would play in against Westlake years ago. It's a different level of talent, and so it should be very fun to watch. And they're expecting Russell Sakona back, hopefully first round, maybe second round. So that is only going to make their offense better. And with the way that Journey's been running the ball, and the offensive line has been playing, and the way that the defense has been playing, they've got a team that could run the table if the chips fall their way.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, though, because that Division II drop-off from Division I, it's not a wide gap from 1 to 2, the top couple teams, but it's a gap from 1 to 2, but not that wide. So some of those teams are on the top of Division II, could have been Division I if CIF goes with a 10-team or 12-team bracket. They probably will go with 8, which probably makes more sense. But yeah, it's going to be tough every night. I mean, so like when Sarah went to Division II a couple years ago, they had league champion almost every week they faced a league champion. So it's gonna be tough. I mean, even though Lusinger is the Bailey champion, you're not guaranteed to get a home game in your first round, which is still crazy. So yeah, we'll see. The Division II playoffs are gonna be real tough, fun and tough.
Fun and tough. Those drawings will be released on Sunday. Damian will be sure to keep everybody updated. All right, number 2, Torrance defeated Santa Monica 49-14. Now sets its sight on number 8 North and the chance at an undefeated season. This game is tonight. Damian, you're there. North comes in at 6-3 overall after handing South a 48-14 defeat. The Saxons are looking to secure a spot in the postseason with this upset. What we know about this game, this is Torrance's first league title since 2011, and that team finished as co-Pioneer League champions. Against Santa Monica, Gibson Turner threw for 295 yards and 5 touchdowns. Von Reinhardt rushed for 118, had 187 yards of total offense and a touchdown. Isaac Mora had 117 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Chapman Hurley, Elias Emerson, and Ashton Bradley also had receiving touchdowns. Torrance was up 35-0 at the half. Eric Rivera, Christian Zepeda, and Elias Emerson each had 6 tackles. Rivera had 2 sacks. Emerson had 1. Nick Mills had 4 tackles and a sack, and Amir Phillips added an interception. This game is going to be interesting because North has won the last 12 meetings. We know to throw the records out the window when it comes to a game like this. North fighting for its postseason life. Of course, Torrance is looking to cement itself in the school's history books. This is the oldest school in the South Bay. How do we see this game going?
Yeah, if you got 12 times in a row, that's crazy. And some of those were really one-sided too. It's gonna be tough. I mean, you look at North. I mean, North, they're 2-2, so they're behind. They're basically in 4th place in the Pioneer League. So basically looking unless something crazy happens with Peninsula beating Santa Monica, which probably not going to happen. They're looking at 4th place and at large bid into the playoffs. But Torrance, yeah, I mean, they've been steady from day one. We talk to Coach Carter after every game, and it's always, hey, get better each week, and that's what they've been doing. And to submit themselves as the undefeated league champion and an undefeated regular season, that's going to be big for them. And we'll see if they can take care of business tonight. But Turner, Reiner, Emerson, those guys have been balling out all year long. Reiner and Emerson on both sides of the ball, and Turner's running a great offense. So 12 years has been a long time, but let's see if they can get it snapped tonight.
Yeah, very long time. That's definitely one of those things you look back at the teams that North had over the last couple of years, especially not only the Anatema brothers, but then you've got the Juarez, Mike Juarez. And Torrance had been down for a while, especially at the end of Rock Hollis's tenure. And no disrespect there, but North always had dudes, and then South had dudes, and then West had dudes. So a lot of the guys, they were either going to other schools, staying away from Torrance. But Coach Carter's done a great job at getting people interested in Torrance football and getting athletes there. So this should be an interesting game regardless. Number 3, Sarah got a huge 35-16 victory over Notre Dame Sherman Oaks. Now takes the drive to La Puente with a visit at Bishop Amat. The victory helped Sarah improve to 4-5 overall, 1-3 in the Mission League. Amat is coming off a 40-0 loss to Sierra Canyon. I checked out Mr. David Rice's article. Sarah was in danger of missing the postseason for the first time in 21 years. But that Sarah defense came up. They forced 4 turnovers that led to 21 Cavalier points. Cavaliers jumped out to a 14-0 lead in the opening quarter, led 28-0 after 3. Defensively, Kari Wilder led the Cavs with 13 tackles and 4 sacks. Anthony Pignatello had 11 tackles, Joe Boulder had 10, and Tim Pryor, my guy Tim Pryor, 5 tackles and a sack. Duve Williams returned an interception for a touchdown. All right, Damian, Sarah, Amat, this game has huge playoff implications for both teams. Are the Cavaliers able to sustain that momentum coming off that victory?
That's the big question of the week. These Sarah Bishop Amat games are always tough. Bishop Amat likes to ground you, pound you up with the run game. Ryan Salcedo's having a great year. But let's see if the Sarah defense can contain him. And then the offense has shown some signs of life lately. You got the big defensive touchdown as well from Duve Williams last week. So let's see. I mean, if Sarah gets this win, they would be in third. They would have wins over Notre Dame and Bishop Amat. They would be tied with the same record. Right now, Loyola is also 1-3, but they play Sierra Canyon, so they're probably gonna get 50 put on them this week. So that puts them out of consideration there. So yeah, this is as must win can be for Sarah. The win gets you 3rd place and gets you an at-large. Well, no, yeah, 3rd place and getting that last automatic bid out of the Mission League. And right into the thick of maybe, I guess, the Division II playoffs, as we talked about before with losing it. So yeah, let's see. I mean, they made some strides lately because there were a couple weeks there. The offense was just, the offense wasn't good. But they made some strides lately. They got some points on the board. So see if that momentum can continue this week.
Is there any sport that Sierra Canyon's not good at?
I don't know. Maybe wrestling. Because they don't have a team yet. Or maybe they do. I don't know if they have wrestling or not. Yeah, they're dominant. I mean, what do you say? Basketball, volleyball. They're all over the place.
Probably baseball too. All right. Number 4, Palos Verdes comes in at 6-3 overall and 3-1 in the Bay League after defeating Inglewood 31-12. PV visits number 6 Maricosta, who's coming off that loss to Lusinger. Mustangs are 6-3 overall as well, 2-2 in league play. Before we hear from Coach Guy Gardner, here's a bit of backstory to this matchup. The last time MiraCosta won was 2016. PV's won 8 straight meetings. I went all the way back to the 2008 season. Since 2011, PV has lost 5 league games. Its most recent loss to MiraCosta, like I said, 2016. Costa won 3 straight, 2008, 2009, 2010. Let's hear from that MiraCosta graduate / Palos Verdes coach. Make sure to check out the initial episode with Guy Gardner, episode 4, as well as the one I did over the summer with Ryan Rakowski, number 35. This full conversation is listed as episode 59. Already available anywhere you tune into your podcasts. All right. PV scored in every quarter. I love getting those texts from the coaches that they scored in the 4th. Some PV stats from last Friday. Ryan Rakowski made his return from that suspension and threw for 130 yards and a pair of touchdowns on his birthday. Happy birthday, young buck. Dominic Hernando, Christian Reese added rushing touchdowns. Sho Murakami Moses added a receiving touchdown. Defensively, Weston Reese led the Sea Kings with 13 tackles. Nick Jakovic had a pair of interceptions. Ben McGovern and Oliver Betts had sacks. Some Costa stats, and this one's going to be interesting moving forward because MiraCosta was out without AJ McBean and Kingston Davies. Liam Meeker and the Mustang offense were held in check by Lusinger's stout defense. The quarterback, Liam Meeker, was held to just 10 yards passing in the first half, threw for 30 while rushing for 35, and he was sacked 4 times. Costa's defense, Jackson Reach had 20 tackles. Joaquin Wagner-Baguis had 14. Luke Meeker, 12 tackles and a sack. Liam Meeker had 12 tackles. Magnus Johnson, 8 tackles and a sack. These guys are playing both ways regardless of who's healthy. A win secures second place for Palos Verdes, while MiraCosta is fighting for that playoff spot after losing to both Inglewood and Lusinger. Is Costa healthy enough to fend off PV in one of those classic low-scoring games?
If McBean is still out, it's gonna be tough for them. They would have to just change up their offense big time. Davies has been out for a couple weeks. I mean, he was out when I was last there against Inglewood. I think he was out the week before as well. So you never know if they can get McBean back, changes up their offense, but it's going to take a lot of the Meekers, Luke and Liam, to pull this one out. But you look at last year's game with the overtime, so you can't really you don't want to say nothing can happen. I mean, it's not possible, but certainly, MiraCosta's defense has been tough all year. Like you say, Reach, Wagner Bogas, those guys have been flying around making all the tackles. But they're gonna have to slow down Ryan, this week, and if they can, they have a good shot. If not, it's gonna be a tough night.
Agreed. I did talk to AJ on the sideline at the losing game, and he said he's hopeful to be back. Of course, concussion protocol, you never know what can happen. And then when I was at the PV Lusinger game, I asked Andrew Habif what his timetable was, and he said, I'm hopeful to be back for the Costa game. Of course, I'd love to play in that game, but there's only so much he can do as well. So that'll be interesting to see. I love seeing this matchup. I know I'm not going to be at this game. I know a lot of people were asking me if I would be. I take the assignment that I get, and I'm not going to say no to watching Mary Starr throw up a 60 spot on St. Bernard's. So we'll get to that later.
You just gave St. Bernard all the momentum they need.
You know what? I want to see a good game, so I'm not driving to Playa del Rey to watch a blowout. That's for sure. The last thing that I enjoy writing is blowout stories, because I used to do that in college at El Camino. I wrote about a softball team that I think they won one game. And when they finally won, they were like, you weren't there to see us win. Like, I can only make it to Tuesday games. Well, we won on Thursday. You know, girls, I appreciate you even thinking about me after all those losses, because it helped me as a writer, writing about people that didn't want to talk to me, finding ways that, all right, cool, I'm going to have to write about you somehow, so let me just make the best out of it. All right. Inglewood fell to 4-5 overall, 2-2 in the Bay League after being held without a point in the opening half against Palos Verdes. The Sentinels close out the season with Culver City at Coleman Stadium, looking to secure third place, holding that tiebreaker over Maricosta. Inglewood was without Samaji Welch against PV. Lincoln John threw for 218 yards and 2 touchdowns, also threw 2 interceptions. Andre Nickerson and Brandon Crawford both had receiving touchdowns, and Marlon Watson rushed for 94 yards. We know how Inglewood started the season. We know how it's going now after losses to Lusinger and to PV. How important is it for Inglewood to take care of business Friday against Culver with playoff draws released Sunday?
Yeah, this is also, it's like a must-win for them, because they're 4-5. You got to get to 5-5, and they're probably going to be their Division I last year. This year, they're maybe looking at a Division 4, maybe 3 or 4, which is still tough as well. But yeah, if I know Coach James told Tracy that they were trying to be careful with Welsh there, a little banged up, so they can get him back this week. I mean, he adds so much to that offense. Culver took some lumps against the other teams in the Bay League. They finally got their win last week against Lawndale. It's a must win for them as well. So let's see if Inglewood can figure things out and get back to sort of what they did against Maricosta. They had Welsh running. Welsh was running there, played strong defense. So let's see if they can get this, get things turned back around here and pick up this win and head into the playoff.
Here we go. Another Thursday game. Number 7, Redondo Union improved to 5-4 overall, 3-1 in the Pioneer League after an offensive explosion against Peninsula, handing the Panthers a 40-21 loss. Seahawks will look to close the regular season out in style against number 14 South. South lost to North 48-14. I asked Coach Ellison some questions, and he said, we've finally gotten our full complement of skill players on the field at the same time. It makes a world of difference when you have players that can stretch the field with one-on-one matchups. Cole Leinart has steadily improved all year, and we are going to need him to be at his best as we gear up for the playoffs. So in that game against Peninsula, Leinart completed 8 of 12 passes for 270 yards and 4 touchdowns. Redondo was up 40-7 at the half. This was Leinart's best game of the season. His highest total was 190 against Huntington Beach. That was the second week of September. He threw for 160 against Torrance. Bo Osmus against Peninsula had 4 receptions for 178 yards, 3 touchdowns. Redondo's ground game tallied 111 yards and a score. For South, Chase Spar had 220 yards passing, ran for 27 more. He threw a pair of touchdowns, but also threw 2 interceptions. And Nathan Karakis had 79 receiving yards and a score. Looking at the stats, knowing how South needs this win, they're now winless. Their season it's all or nothing tonight. Could this game get ugly quick because Redondo's got the offense and they're clicking at the right time? Or does South have enough athletes to find a way to slow Redondo's offense and make this a fourth quarter game?
That's going to be a big challenge. I think right now, if Redondo wants to line up and run at you, they can do that pretty well. They did it against North a couple weeks ago. And like I said, you got Bo Osmond's back. We got some of the skill players back. Liner's healthy. Like I said last week, I think they figured some things out and they're picking up steam here, heading into the playoffs. For South, even if a loss would drop them to what, 4-6 or 3-7.
I think 4-6. I think they had a good.
4-6. Depending on where their ranking is in the whole computer system, if they're like a Division 11 or 12, you still might be able to get in. I've seen it happen a couple of years with Hawthorne down there, Division 13 and 14. So all probably wouldn't be all loss if they lost, but the chances are slim because you'll be under 500. But you get into a division where there aren't a lot of automatic qualifiers, and then that opens up for a team in the South maybe can slip in somewhere under 500. So one thing to keep an eye out on Sunday when the rankings are released.
Right. South is 3-6. So this would be, if they get that win, this would be win number 4.
Yeah, the 3-7 I've seen winless teams get in the playoffs at higher divisions recently. So you never know.
It's very interesting when you see a team without any wins get in over teams that actually have quality wins.
That's the whole computer system. That's just the way it is. In some sports, we've seen teams with 500 records not get in. And football, it seems to be, teams winless records sneaking in. And St. Pius a couple years ago, I think maybe last year, they might have went winless and they made a run to the CIF final. So that's just the way the system is right now.
Right. It's like Moneyball, you got old guys and you got the computers. Number 9, Carson scored 43 points in the first half of a 50-0 victory over Narbonne. Chris Fields threw for 6 touchdowns, setting up a Week 10 showdown with number 10, San Pedro, and the Marine League crown. San Pedro's coming off that 49-14 victory over Gardena. This game is tonight. Tracy McDonald will be there. After doing a bit of research, I went back to 2014. Pedro last won the league title in 2022. Carson, 2010. Carson's won the last 2 regular season meetings. Pedro's won 6 of the last 10, not including the playoffs. We know the drill. Throw the records out the window with this rivalry. Last year, I was able to cover that eye-popping Pedro victory. The Pirates were down 24-0 and scored 24 points in the third, forced overtime, and won on an Elias Redlew catch that he had to kind of show off his basketball skills for. Before we move on, are we ready to hear from Pirate alum and current Pirate coach Corey Walsh?
Let's go.
All right. That was Corey Walsh. That is episode 60. Very quick conversation with him. Also check out episode 6, where Coach talks about his dad being his assistant and inspiring him to want to become a coach. All right. Against Narbonne, Chris Fields threw for 200 yards. Eric Myers had 142 on the ground and a touchdown. Craig Walker had 2 receiving touchdowns. Nathan Williams, Royal Moore, and Noah Castillo had 1 receiving touchdown each. Defensively, Xavier Allen, Mr. Baseball as well, led the Colts with 10 tackles. Kingston Sula, Kerman Williams, and Bruce Thornton added sacks. For San Pedro against Gardena, Seth Solorio had a huge night of his own to the tune of a 5-touchdown night 4 passing, 1 rushing, to go along with 369 yards. Dylan Ashford added a rushing and receiving touchdown. Derek Johnson had 2 rushing scores. Jackson Brown had a receiving touchdown and an interception. Braden Villegas and Elias Redlew each had receiving touchdowns. Philip Overholt led the defense with 6 tackles and a sack. Joey Garcia had a sack. Dennis Overholt and Donovan McClendon each added interceptions. We know these 2 programs are very proud. They both featured the top offenses in the city section. Which defense is going to step up?
Or better yet, which kicking game is going to step up as well, right? It's there seem to be two great offenses. It's something's going to turn this game. I mean, will it come on the defensive end? Will it come in special teams? Something's going to have to turn it, because if not, it's going to end up being 70-67 or something like that, some crazy score, which is possible. But yeah, looking interested to see which offense can sort of take control, which offensive line can take control, and then which defense can slow down the quarterbacks, because the quarterbacks are off to a great start. Great season, Chris Fields and Seth Solorio. That is what you want, right? Marine League title, 2 best teams in the Marine League, probably 2 best teams in the city, playing for the title, and also maybe playing for the number 1 seed in the Open Division. City parents come out Saturday evening, so it's going to be interesting to see which team can take control. Like you said, the game last year, what Carson jumped out big. San Pedro rallies back to win the game. So are we setting ourselves up for another one of those, or will one of these teams take control early and sort of grind the game out there in the fourth quarter? So we'll see.
I think with this one, it's whoever's running game can do more, and whichever defense can step up, especially with how these quarterbacks have been throwing the ball. If Carson shuts down Elias Redlew, if Pedro finds a way to shut down Chris Fields and make Carson's offense one-dimensional, that's a tall task. I'm sure both offensive coordinators are going to be grinding their gears, figuring out how to start the game, how they want to come out. I'm sure they both want to come out aggressive, but Tracy's going to see tonight how this game is going to go.
Yeah, you look at Carson, you got edge rusher, Kingston Sula, who's already at like 13 sacks. And Pedro's going to send their wave of guys at Chris Fields. I mean, can he get away? Eric Myers is having a good season out of the backfield for Carson. Can he get away from the defense? And Pedro has so many guys that they run out there at the tailback spot or at receiver. The Solorio and Redlew, they're a great combination right now. Yeah, it's going to be a fun night. I'm looking forward to seeing the final score to see it all.
All right. Thursday. It's like week 10 is Thursday, Friday games. El Segundo comes in at 8-1 overall after taking care of business against El Rancho, 35-6, setting up a week 10 clash for the Ocean League title with West Torrance. Warriors are coming off a 35-6 victory over Centennial. West comes in at 5-4 overall. Both teams are 3-0 in the league. This game is at El Segundo. West won last year's meeting 35-21. I've got Coach Schoonmaker. Let's hear from him before we move on. All right, there we go. That is Coach Schoonmaker. You can hear more from Coach and why he wanted to become a coach. Episode 60, South Bay Sports Radio. All right, Daily Breeze Player of the Week, Ryan Wysek, passed for 129 yards, rushed for 205 more, and accounted for 5 touchdowns. Rocco Taylor, Spencer Osborne each had receiving touchdowns. Defensively, Charles Juarez led the Eagles with 12 tackles and an interception. Spencer Osborne had 11 tackles, and Jake Danford added a sack. Some West Torrance stats. Jack McInnes led the way with 208 yards on the ground and a pair of touchdowns on 16 carries. Dominic Golia added 117 yards through the air and a touchdown, including passes to Jake Shipstadt and Blake Ely. Defensively, Muhammad Afdawi and Chase Luge led the unit with 5 tackles. Connor Stillion had a sack. Dylan Goby and Ryan Kearns each added interceptions. I made sure to get both of those quarterbacks' names right because the last thing that I want to do is say your name wrong and spell it wrong, especially in tonight's article. All right. Both of these teams are limiting mistakes, making the most out of their athletes on both sides of the ball. Damian, am I expecting a barn burner or a slugfest tonight?
Probably a barn burner. You talk about quarterbacks who's taking care of the ball. I mean, for El Segundo, Ryan he hasn't thrown an interception all year. 25 touchdowns, no interception. To have those kind of numbers this late in the year, that's impressive all the way around. Excuse me. I saw West early in the year as they went through some struggles. I mean, they played all the Torrance teams. They lost to Torrance, lost to North, even lost to South. So you see them finally figuring things out here. And now they get a chance to defend their league title. So it's going to be a battle. We'll see if they can disrupt the El Segundo offense a little bit. And then on the other side, can El Segundo take away McInnes, I saw early in the year that he's going to have a big season. I think he had almost 100 and some yards early on against Torrance, I believe. So can they take him away, which forces them to be, one-dimensional, whatever. We'll see. Looking forward to another big game with a league title on the line.
There we go. All right. Number 12, and fresh off a bye week, Mary Star is looking to secure the program's first Camino Real League title since 2019. The Stars travel to Playa del Rey to square off with number 15, St. Bernard. The Vikings sit at 5-4 overall and 2-2 in league. Mary Star comes into this game at 7-2 overall, 4-0 in league play. Let's go back to that 2019 Star team for a minute. They went 8-2 in the regular season, beating Bishop Montgomery 28-24 in week 10 to secure the league crown before its season ended in the second week of CIF. Some Mary Star stats: Tanner Rollins is thrown for 1,558 yards and 16 touchdowns. Sophomore Johnny Rivera has racked up 938 yards and 13 touchdowns on the ground. In 3 games, Giuseppe Verzi has 242 yards and 3 touchdowns. Amari Powell leads all receivers with 333 yards. Dallas Christopher has 305 yards and 6 receiving touchdowns. St. Bernard last played 3 weeks ago. A 48-8 win over Bosco Tech. Some Bernard stats for you. Quarterback Gary Ferguson is thrown for 764 yards and 12 touchdowns. No interceptions. Jaden Armstrong is rushed for 494 yards and 7 touchdowns. Zion McKinnon leads all receivers with 380 yards to go along with 3 touchdowns. Terrence Bell has 297 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he leads the defense with 43 tackles. Michael Blunt, a freshman for the Vikings, has 4 sacks. Both of these teams are coming off a bye, but from what we know, the Stars are loaded offensively. What's going to be the key for St. Bernard to slow down Mary Star's offense?
Just one correction. Bernard, they had 2 weeks off before last week's game. They had 2 forfeit victories against Vasquez and Bishop Montgomery. Then they played last week against St. Genevieve and lost 41-8. And Mary Star's coming off a bye last week. So it's like, these teams are probably still trying to overcome having time off. Yeah, it's gonna be I think Mary Star will probably, close out the league title here. But for Bernard, this is their second year back as a varsity program. And for them to be what they're sitting at 5-4. They can get into the playoffs in the second year back. That's a big step for the program has been restarted here. But yeah, just seeing Mary Star, with Tanner Rollins there. He doesn't have the numbers he had last year, but they're winning football games and setting themselves up for maybe a good playoff run there. So let's see. I mean, they got. I think they had a good running back last year, but now they have two with Rivera and with Verzi, I believe. So let's see. They got a big offensive line, as we started talking about early on this season. So yeah, it might be tough for Burner to slow down Mary Star, but we'll see if both these teams. Well, if Burner can get into the playoffs, and then Mary Star will probably go on in as the undefeated league champion.
All right, and the last one, also on Thursday, Westchester dropped its showdown with Venice, 21-8, and looks to close out the season against University. The Comets are now 4-5 overall. Against Venice, White Orr had 163 rushing yards. He's up to 883 on the season and 12 touchdowns. The Comets have totaled 21 rushing touchdowns on the year, just 2 passing. Westchester is seeking a spot in the city section playoffs. Like we said earlier, the brackets drop Saturday. How big is this a game for Westchester? With a win, sliding them into a higher division, and a loss possibly dropping them into Division 2 or 3 in the city.
Yeah, I haven't seen the city rankings much. Westchester's probably a bottom end Division 1 team, probably. Maybe Division 2. I'm not really sure. The Western League's always pretty tough, though. So yeah, let's see if they can close the season out. Close it out strong on the first year coach Cameron Graham and go to the playoffs and see what happens. Playoff situation is so crazy in the city because there's like the open is probably going to be 2 Marine League teams there. Then Banning probably goes Division 1. Gardena might end up Division, maybe 2. And of course Narbonne's banned this year, so Westchester might be a little bit below in the Division 2, probably with Gardena in that area. But there's always so many schools from the Valley that finds a way into the brackets, and you're like, oh, where's this school from?
The Valley.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
The Valley.
So yeah, it's gonna see 3-2 will be a good finish, I think, for a first year coach in the Western League. Let's see if they can get it done.
All right, that's gonna wrap Damian's top 15. We're gonna move on to girls volleyball. We've got 3 teams still standing, and it's semifinal weekend. Chadwick is moving on after a 4-game victory over El Toro. The Dolphins host Royal Saturday night with a spot in the Division 5 finals on the line. This is the furthest Chadwick has reached since 2015. Division 6, Weisman Da Vinci swept Providence in the quarterfinal round and will now host Capistrano Valley Christian Saturday in the semis. And Division 7, Cams out of Carson makes another trip to the semifinals after a 5-set victory over Santa Fe. Cams will play Kate at Perry Lindsay Middle School in Long Beach. These are fun games still because these girls are looking for a spot in the finals.
Yeah, and Redondo and Maricosta lost in Division 1 quarterfinals. Maricosta lost in 3 against Marymount, and Redondo lost in a crazy marathon match against San Juan Hills in 5 sets. So both teams are now wait for the CIF state pairings, which are out in next weekend, next Sunday, I believe.
That will do it for episode 62 of South Bay Sports Radio. Be sure to follow along for all the updates from games and highlights. Breeze Preps on Twitter. Make sure to follow the show on all your socials and wherever you tune into podcasts. South Bay Sports Radio signing out.